Today I'll be talking about World War II by Lara Tarek from the grade of 11G1. Starting off, I will give you an introduction about World War II. So, World War II was the second global war that lasted from 1939 to 1945. The war involved a majority of the world's countries, and it is considered the deadliest conflict in human history. One major cause of World War II was the rise of fascism in Europe. Fascism is a political system that gives total power to a dictator. Who started the war? World War II began in Europe on September 1, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland. Great Britain and France responded by declaring war on Germany on September 3rd. The war between the USSR and Germany began on June 22, 1941, with the German invasion of the Soviet Union. What were the main causes of the war? The major causes of World War II were numerous. They included the impact of the Treaty of Versailles following World War I, the worldwide economic depression, failure of appeasement, the rise of militarism in Germany and Japan, the failure of the League of Nations, and finally on September 1, 1939, when the German troops invaded Poland. What countries fought in World War II? The main combatants were the Axis power, which included Germany, Italy, and Japan, and the Allies, which included France, Great Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, and to a lesser extent we have China. And now I will be talking about the major events using a timeline that I created. Starting off in 1937, Japan launches a full-scale invasion of China. That's when World War II started in Asia. In 1939, Germany invades Poland. World War II started in Europe. And in 1941, Japan bombs Pearl Harbor. The United States enters World War II. In 1945, the United States drops atomic bombs on the Japanese sites such as Hiroshima. That's when Japan surrendered. And in 1945, Germany surrendered. What was Hitler's goal for World War II? The ultimate aim of the Nazi Party was to seize power through Germany's parliamentary system and install Hitler as a dictator, and create a community of racially pure Germans who are loyal to their leader, who would lead them in a campaign of racial cleansing and world conquest. Losses of major wartime powers in World War II. Germany, with 4.5 million military and 2 million civilians. Japan, with 2 million military and 350,000 of civilians. Italy, with 400,000 military and 100,000 of civilians. China, with 2.5 million military and 7.4 million civilians. USSR, with 10 million military and 10 million civilians. Great Britain, with 300,000 military and 50,000 of civilians. And France, with 250,000 military and 350,000 of civilian. And finally for the United States, with 274,000 of military only. How did the war ended? It ended when the Allied landings at Normandy on June 6, 1944 opened a second front in Europe and Germany's operative offensive at the Ardennes in the winter of 1944 and 1945, which marked the Third Reich's final push in the West. After that, the Red Army advanced from the east and effectively claimed all the territory under its control for the Soviet sphere. After that, the Allied armies converged on Berlin. Then Adolf Hitler committed suicide on April 30, 1945, and the war in Europe ended on May 8th. The American island hopping campaign had destroyed key Japanese installations throughout the Pacific, while allowing the Bay-Past Islands to wither on the vine. Hundreds of thousands were killed in the fire pumpings of Japanese cities, such as the atomic pumping of Hiroshima in August 1945, which knocked out Japan out of the war. And now with the three most important effects of World War II. Starting off, the end of the European age. Second, the rise of the US to superpower status. Third, the expansion of the Soviet Union and its rise to superpower status, and the emergence of the Cold War. To conclude, World War II was fought between the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the Allied powers, Britain, United States, Soviet Union, and France. Most of the countries in the world were involved in some way. It was the deadliest war in all human history, with around 70 million people killed. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this video was useful and helpful.